Today, I might just come across a little edgy. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, Day 3 of Mishpatim. And let's go to Shemot, Exodus chapter 22, 2 verses today. Verse 5 and 6 says, When a man lets a field or a vineyard be grazed bare, and lets loose his livestock, and it feeds in another man's field, he repays from the best of his own field and the best of his own vineyard. When fire breaks out and spreads to thorn bushes so that stacked grain or standing grain or the field is consumed, he who kindled the fire shall certainly repay. Poor land management is the obvious surface level theme that is being talked about here. In this chapter, we're talking about various levels of accountability, whether someone steals livestock or whether he misplaces property or goods that have been entrusted to his hands. If he is dealing irresponsibly with some woman that is betrothed to him, etc. Those things are where people have to give an account of their actions, their deeds, their mistakes. And we have been trained here in America to where it's easy to say, I'm sorry, and I misspoke, or I apologize, my actions were upon reflection, not those that I wish to portray, so please forgive me. And so there are these moments then where we tend to get off without any accountability or reckoning of any sorts. When someone says, I'm sorry, or I shouldn't have done that, we forgive and let go in most respects, unless there's an advantage politically, especially, to be gained from it. Here, the Torah says that if you're responsible for someone else's loss or mishap or misfortune, you are to be held accountable and you're going to pay. Putting someone in jail for causing damage to something leaves the person with the damage still having to pay for the damage. But the Torah said, no. The person who caused the unfortunate situation, the harm, the damage, out of what they have, they're going to pay. Or they will be sold into servitude and to earn the money to pay. So why these two verses? Israel is likened symbolically to a vineyard. And the seed of Yeshua has been planted in fields to reap a crop of souls and lives for righteous purposes in the kingdom. When someone has within their calling, their disposal, within their realm of influence, a field that is supposed to be fruit-bearing and life-giving, and they allow their livestock then to go in and overgraze. They don't understand when you have grass growing here, you feed for a while, but you can't let it go down to the ground. You have to move and rotate the livestock through, lest they completely eat up to the ground and pull up from the roots what you have planted here and what's supposed to be helpful to the flock. And I'm struggling here, but I'm trying to be cautious in what I'm saying. When leaders cause their flocks and their herds to be improperly cared for, and those flocks and those herds are at a point where they have nothing left. There's no food, there's no feed, there is no life-giving substance for them. And they leave and they go elsewhere. And they start eating up what someone is trying to provide for their own flock and herd. And it comes to a cost to them, and it's a problem. Then the original landowner, the one we initially started talking about, he has to pay. How does this apply? Bluntly, when a spiritual leader, pastor, rabbi, congregational leader, whatever title that is used, when they are not feeding their flock appropriately and starving flock members, congregants, when people are ill-fed, wrongly fed, and they sprout out elsewhere, oftentimes they take their hurt feelings and their issues and stuff with them, and it causes at times congregational upset somewhere else. I had an occasion many years ago pastoring where some folks walked in and they brought great disruption with them. I had called immediately their pastor. I knew where they came from. I called him up and I said, you got some of your sheep are over here in my pasture, and I didn't invite them, and I don't think any of our sheep invited them, but I want you to know where they're at. And he basically said, you can have them. They've done all the damage here that I'm allowing them to do. And I thought, gee, thanks. And they did damage where I was at. Long-term damage. It's wrong. If you are a congregational leader, a pastor, you must make sure that what you are feeding your congregation and what you are teaching and instructing and how you're modeling is that which is life-giving and healthy and fruit-bearing, that your people are growing and maturing, or else they're going to scatter and they're going to bring their immaturity and their ill issues with them and cause upset elsewhere. The same thing on the flip side is this fire starter. Going on the internet or producing media that is inflammatory to garner attention to yourself, to build up your ministry, quote unquote, whatever that is, at the expense of inflamed passions and divisive rhetoric, promoting my understanding is superior to whoever else's understanding, and throwing accusations and barbs at someone because they don't teach what you teach or don't see it the way you see it. These are things that have happened within denominational, congregational settings for a very long time, not just in recent memory, for decades, many decades. It is mainstream churchdom in a lot of ways, but it has been brought from those ranks into Hebraic roots and Messianic ranks. And at some point, somebody's got to be held accountable. And there may be a season coming where Yah is going to bring us into accountability. We're seeing accountability being initiated in our nation in many respects. It begins with the house of Yah. May Yah help us to be good leaders, honest, filled with integrity, to walk uprightly, and to care for Yah's sheep, not burning down someone else's field, their house, their congregation, and not running our sheep off somewhere else to eat up somebody else's pasture. It's edgy, but I hope to see you again tomorrow. And until then, shalom.